We talk a lot about love in Unitarian Universalist circles. The whole month of February, we're focusing on love as our theme in worship. Today, I want to focus on the love that we don't talk about as much in our religious organizations. I want to talk about the love that we experience and celebrate with our bodies. Today, we UUs are pretty free in our thought. We're not always so free in our actions, though. We tend to live very intentional lives. You can count the number of Priuses and other electric cars in the parking lot. We hold ourselves to a high ethical standard. It's sometimes different from the standard of the American majority, but nevertheless, we can be quite demanding of the way we live our lives and the way we understand them. We're free in our thoughts. We're not always free in our bodies, though. That's what I'm hoping to break through a little bit today. Now, freedom of thought is a foundation in our history. We see that today in the diversity that makes up our congregation and congregations just like ours across the country. Not many places have atheists sitting next to Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, and Jews worshiping together. But the very roots of Unitarian theology, it was critical reasoning that separated us from the rest, particularly here in America. We broke away from Protestants in 19th century in large part because we insisted on using reason to interpret the Bible. Yes, we were arguing based on the Bible, but as a relatively new idea of biblical criticism and understanding that it's a historical document came out of Europe, our liberal predecessors here in the United States latched on to that new way of knowing and exploring the world. They were eager to use all that knowledge and reason to interpret their faith. The other piece of theology that set us apart was our rejection of original sin. They realized that we have a tremendous grasp of reason and the capacity to grow. We're not perfect, but neither are we inherently sinful. We're simply full of potential. A belief in reason and human potential is the foundation of our faith, so much so that today probably the one principle that everyone can name is our first principle, that we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. It's a message that we've taken to heart and try to live by daily. But sometimes I wonder if we also believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every body, especially our own. Everything I believe and know tells me that we should. We know that human intellect is a tremendous gift, and we should use that for the betterment of the world. We have amazing brains. We also have amazing bodies, though. We're called not just to use our minds, but to use our whole selves in living life to its fullest. We're called to use our bodies, our wonderful senses, to learn about the world, not from books and lectures, but to learn from the world from all of our senses, filling our sights with the visual beauty that abounds in an inherently good thing, with world-class art galleries just a stone's throw away, and vistas of the Pacific Ocean, or mountains or deserts even in our backyard. It behooves us to stop and look, to feed our souls with the beauty that abounds, the beauty that we absorb through our physical body. Of course, the bounty isn't limited to the visual. Our lives can be and should be filled with all sorts of rich experience. The titillating flavors of world-class cuisine. The emotional journey of music in our ears, the touch of a lover's embrace, soft linen, tree bark. Perhaps more than any of these sensations, it's the variety that stirs our soul in the world of beauty. The world is ready and waiting to feed us if we open our ears and our eyes and our hands. We come to experience the world of creation through our bodies, and in return, we express ourselves through our physical form. These machines of ours, these bodies, are the tool that we have to express what stirs in us. That may emerge in artistic expression or singing a song. For most of us, though, it takes the simple form of being with another person and having a conversation. We share ourselves with one another through our bodies. We connect with one another. We love one another through our physical beings. One person who celebrates the beauty of the physical world in a way that stirs my soul is Walt Whitman. I want to share with you some of the ways he speaks about bodies in his poem, I Sing the Body Electric, from Leaves of Grass. It's an amazing poem, and honestly, portions of it would make me blush to read from a pulpit, so I encourage you to pick up a copy on your own. Whitman writes, "The love of the body of man or woman balks account. The body itself balks account. That of the male is perfect, and that of the female is perfect. The expression of the face balks account. But the expression of a well-made man appears not only in his face, it is in his limbs and joints also. It is curiously in the joints of hips and waist. It is in his walk, the carriage of his neck, the flex of his wrist and knees. Dress does not hide him. The strong, sweet quality he has strikes through the cotton and broadcloth. To see him pass conveys as much as the best poem, perhaps more. You linger to see his back and the back of his neck and shoulder side." This is a daring claim for a poet, and I suppose for a preacher, to say that one's subject balks account. It's true, though. The human body is far beyond any description in its unending, complicated beauty. Try as we may, in words or in visual art, the power of vitality held in each living person far exceeds our attempts to duplicate it. Two of the best-known attempts are probably Michelangelo's David and the Venus de Milo, the most famous of all Greco-Roman sculpture. I've never seen these pieces of art in person, but we have all seen lots and lots of pictures of them. I've heard that they are astounding in person. Still, in all the beauty that they express, I contend that they fail to capture the visceral essence of a living human form. As Whitman put it, the body balks account. It is a singular phenomenon beyond reproduction or description. It is magnificent. Whitman talks at length about the beauty of different types of bodies: men, women, children, older people. He writes beautifully about each type, but he also speaks of the power of being in the company of others. He says, "I have perceived that to be with those I like is enough. To stop in company and rest at evening is enough. To be surrounded by beautiful, curious, breathing, laughing flesh is enough. To pass among them or touch anyone or rest my arm ever so lightly around his or her neck for a moment. What is this then? I do not ask any more delight. I swim in it as a sea. There is something in staying close to men and women and looking on them, and in the contact and odor of them that pleases the soul well. All things please the soul, but these please the soul well." From a minister's perspective, this description of being in the company of others is simply perfect. It pleases the soul well. I love that. There's a unique sense of satisfaction that comes through connection with other people. Just as the beauty of the physical form is indescribable, the physical experience of encountering other human flesh has a unique power. Imagine a first kiss between timid lovers, or the decades-old embrace of spouses, or the caring touch of a patient and a caregiver in a hospital bed. It's satisfying. It is enough. Being with the right people is more than art or food or adventure. Being in the right company is enough. As creatures, we've evolved in certain ways to thrive. One of those ways is as social animals. We're meant to be together, to live together in proximity. More and more, I find that we are living individual, separated lives, though, and this is true for myself. We connect through technology, and that's a pretty amazing, wonderful gift, but it's not the same. You can see through the computer screen, you can hear through telephones, but you can't smell or touch another human being through technology. You can't be with them. We need one another, and there's tremendous power in that presence. That's part of why I have asked you all to hold hands on Sundays ever so briefly. We're not doing that now because it's flu season, but we will return to that practice soon. I also know that not everyone likes it. For some people, it's cheesy and it kind of smacks of kumbaya. For other people, it's simply uncomfortable. I understand that it's uncomfortable to physically touch a person that you don't know well. I know it's particularly uncomfortable for men. Holding hands is uncomfortable because it is powerful. In fact, I think there are few things more powerful in our lives than the touch of another human being. From a lover or friend or a healer. If you are one of those people for whom holding hands is uncomfortable, I want you to know that I get that. And if you choose not to, that's totally up to you. But I also want to challenge you to think about what makes you uncomfortable about it. And remember that while it may be difficult for you, For someone else in this room, it's deeply nurturing and perhaps the most touch they've had all week. I don't know how Whitman felt about holding hands, but he clearly celebrated being in the physical company of other people. But this next passage is where he gets really explicitly theological. Whitman talks about the body and the soul being one. He says, "O my body, I dare not detest the likes of you in other men and women, nor the likes of the parts of you. I believe the likes of you are to stand or fall with the likes of the soul, and that they are the soul. I believe that the likes of you shall stand and fall with my poems, and that they are my poems. Man's, woman's, child's, youth's, wife's, husband's, mother's, father's, young man's, young woman's poems. Head, neck, hair, ears, drop of tympan of the ears, eyes, eye fringes, iris of the eye, eyebrows, and the waking or sleeping of the lids. The continual changes of the flecks of the mouth and around the eyes, the skin, the sunburnt shade, freckles, hair, the curious sympathy one feels when feeling with the hand the naked meat of the body, the circling rivers of breath and breathing it in and out, the beauty of the waist, and thence of the hips, and thence downward toward the knees, the thin red jellies within you and within me, the bones and the marrow in the bones, the exquisite realization of health. Oh, I say these are not the parts and poems of the body only, but of the soul. Oh, I say now, these are the soul." As we wrap up this month of discussing love, I want to leave you with an invitation to feel at home in your body. Celebrate your magnificent soul of flesh and bone. Celebrate the gift of a sensual body. Do something for yourself. Whether it's a nice meal or a massage, even wearing the most comfortable favorite piece of clothing, or feasting your eyes on an image that stirs your soul, do something your body enjoys because it deserves some attention. Even in our imperfection, especially in our imperfection. Together, we reaffirm our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every body, including our own. Amen.